Hey, change makers and visionaries. This is ReImagining Community, where we dive deep into the stories of leaders who are reshaping the world, one community at a time. I'm your host, Garland Fuller, and every episode is a radical act of connection. We're not just talking about change, we're breaking down how real people are creating it right here, right now. This podcast is more than conversations. It's a bridge where we are sharing stories that offer insight and inspiration. Whether you're an entrepreneur, consultant, volunteer, artist, or an organizational leader, this is your space to listen and learn. This is your call to create impact in the communities you hold dear and that hold you up. Let's reimagine what's possible together. All right, welcome to ReImagining Community. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Bahni Turpin. She is the founder of the SoLA Food Co-Op. Bahni, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Thank you so much.
So tell me about yourself, Bahni, because you've got a really, I think, cool background, at least for me when I met you first. I thought, wow, she's got her hands in so many things. And just some of the things that you've been doing, not only related to the food co-op, but just the other aspects of your life, I think are very cool.
Well, I am an actress. I moved to LA from New York in 1994. And in 2010, I bought a house in South LA. So that's a little lead in to the SoLA story. But as an actress, I work in TV, film, audiobook narration. I do a lot of. I've been a member of Cornerstone Theater Company for 20 years, and I actually just left the company about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Hey, good to know. All right. So when we first started talking, you said, I would have never guessed that I'd be starting a food co-op or a co-op in general. What was it about saying, hey, I want to be the change? There's something that's not here. What do I need to do or learn how to do to, create this? Because for me, the whole reason I do this podcast is we all see things or things happen to us. And then we sometimes think, well, who's going to fix this? Or why is it like this? Or, you know what I mean? And it's like, if you're noticing it, that's all that needs to happen for something to happen.
Right. Well, a number of things happened that led me into it. And one of them was joining Cornerstone Theater Company, which I did in 2005. And Cornerstone is a company that does community-based theater. So we, or they, now that I'm no longer an ensemble member, create plays with and about communities. So we involve non-professional non-professional theater artists in the making of theater alongside professionals. So that was the first time I had been involved in anything like that. And I had always thought of myself as an individual artist, actor. And it sort of opened my eyes to community in many ways. And around 2011, we decided that we were going to do a series of plays on the theme of hunger. And somehow, and to launch that cycle, we called it the hunger cycle. We had an immersive sort of festival. We called it Creative Seeds. And we had a lot of different activities, including, panel discussions at Calendar with different people in the food system talking about food availability and organic food, blah, blah, blah. And there was just a lot of input about food availability and quality that was coming at me and community. And then, I moved to this house in South LA in 2010, but I saw that I was still buying groceries in Hollywood because I am married to a man who won't let any non-organic food in the house. He's very strict about reading ingredients and stuff, more so than I even am. I miss the canola oil frequently, and he was like, "There's canola oil, I can't eat it." Yeah. So, I was going back to my old neighborhood to shop, and yeah, it's Hollywood. I lived on Melrose, like Melrose and La Brea area.
Yeah.
So, at the time, my cousin, Lisa Richardson, was the press secretary for the county supervisor. And she said, "Why don't you open a grocery store? That would be great. That could be your business." And I said, "What are you talking about?" I'm an actress. Didn't I come here to open a grocery store? That's what I thought at the time. She said, "Well, the supervisor has tried. He's spoken to Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, and they don't want to come here. They said you'll go to them." They said we would go to them and take our money out of our community and go to some other place and spend it. And so
Interesting.
then I feel like I was sitting at my desk one night and a light bulb went off. Like, what if the community owned the store? What if I didn't have to be the owner? And that sent me on a wild goose chase of food co-ops and looking up how to start a food co-op. Wow, there were manuals online. There was maps of how to do this. And then I found an organization called California Center for Cooperative Development. And
Mhm.
they have a yearly conference. And it was in Berkeley that year. So in April of 2011, I went up to Berkeley to this conference. And and they gave me a little name tag that said Untitled South LA Food Co-op. And I went to all these workshops and lectures, and my mind was just blown. I was just like so excited, so like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna get a co-op." Then, I was very naive. I thought it would take 2 or 3 years. But I began. And I began by making a list of people that I knew that I thought would be interested in a natural food store that we own. And I would just be out at community events with a clipboard. "Hey, how you doing? Can I have your email address?" Basically, um, I went to a edible gardening workshop on Crenshaw at what was then a yoga studio called Lotus on the Nile. And my husband and I were both teaching yoga at the time. Well, we weren't teaching there, but we both were yoga teachers. He still is. I'm not really teaching anymore. But, at the end of the workshop, I said, "Is anybody here interested in working on a natural foods co-op?" And people stood up and raised their hands. And two of those people became my steering committee members. One of them set up the entire online presence of the co-op, created a website, got us on MailChimp, set me up to do a newsletter, the email addresses I was collecting. Um, Twitter, Facebook. There was Twitter then, and there was no Instagram yet. But yeah, so we began, and at first it was just going to different community events and having a table and taking names and email addresses. We
Yeah.
used to attend roundtable meetings of LA Food Policy Council. And the woman who I met at that edible gardening workshop ended up becoming a manager of our local farmers market. So she was able to help us in other ways down the line, being able to table at the farmers market and things like that. So that's how it started.
I love this. I love this. The first time I went to a food co-op, I was in Northern California. It was, I think, the Rainbow Food Co-op in San
Mm,
Francisco.
mhm, mm,
And it was the first time I'd been to a store that felt different. Like it just feels different when you walk into a food co-op because everything in there has been curated and selected to be in there.
mhm.
They had like, and because San Francisco and people are super hippie, you're bringing your own containers, you're bringing your own, if you want to get beans or rice
Mhm,
or nuts or grains of any sort, they sell, of course, the thing, but once you get it, you can come and you can refill your stuff. And I just was like, wow, the waste, like less waste. At the time, I think I was pescatarian. And so I was paying attention more to like your husband, reading the back of
mhm,
things,
mhm.
looking at what's in it. And I'm still like that now. Now that I'm vegan, it's probably worse in terms of me looking for more ingredients that I don't want in the food. But I do think there is something about food as medicine
Mm,
and food as nourishment, not just, fed and I am not hungry, but also food as making you feel better,
mhm.
as helping you to have the energy that you need to go out into the
Yeah.
world. And so part of, I think, what you're doing, I think is so important because when we talk about food insecurity, hunger, food deserts, these types of terms, they have a connotation. Some of it, I think sometimes people don't realize it's by design, like it is by
Mhm,
design. When you understand city planning and urban planning and how cities are created, who gets a loan, who has access, how all of this works, um, it starts to become very like, well, how can we disrupt
you're
this?
right.
What can we do differently? And so I'm excited to hear about, what you've learned along the way, where you're at in this process, what has been kind of your own awareness and understanding through this.
Well, I think that I fell in love with the cooperative model, and it is a business not limited to food stores. And the store that you mentioned, Rainbow Foods in San Francisco, is a worker-owned co-op. So the people who work there own that store. Our store is a consumer co-op, so the shoppers can be owners of the store. And to date, we have 710 owners, households, and the ownerships are per household. So I just feel that in our time when there are huge corporations taking over stores, like I've been around long enough to have seen Whole Foods eat up every small health food store in the area and just take them over. Just buy them out, take them over. Remember Wild Oats?
I do.
Wild Oats, Mrs. Gooch's. I mean, yeah, all these became Whole Foods, and with the co-op, that can't happen because you have all of these individual household owners, and we're not going to just sell to a high investor. Hopefully the co-op, once we open, will be around for the next 50 to 100 years, being owned by people who live in this community. Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have any goals as it relates to how many more families we want to have
Yeah.
sign up? Because
Well, it's unlimited.
when you do the math on how many people live in South
Right.
LA, when you do the math on how many households, make up at least 5 zip codes, at least, um, I think there's amazing opportunity not only for you to, like you said, own and be involved in a grocery store, but as a result, you're able to put the things that you want to see in that grocery
Yes.
store.
It's a more democratic business model. Like every household that joins the co-op has a voting share. With that vote, they elect the board of directors, and there will be other things that come down the pike that the membership will vote on. Like it may come to, are we going to open a second store? Or there may be a year where instead of dispersing the profits among the owners, which is part of it, profit sharing, we decide to invest in something else, invest in new equipment, another store, another location, whatever it is. But the members get to vote on those type of things. So whether it's a worker co-op or a consumer co-op, the people who own it are guiding the business. It's not just, Kroger who has all these things that they buy from and they put their label on all of them. It's not just a big box solution and everybody is the same, you know?
I do understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you all been doing through COVID? I know when I spoke with you, you said we had to get creative. We started, doing things with other organizations. We started having, opportunities to collaborate.
Well, let me answer your other question first, because right now we're at 710 households. The location that we have our eye on, we have not secured it yet, is more than 10,000 square feet. It's a good sized store, not nearly as big as a supermarket like a Ralph's, but around the size of a Trader Joe's. And we just did another market study on that location. And I'm not sure exactly how many members it said, but it's going to be more than 700. It's going to be more than 1,000 that they're going to recommend, depending on the square footage of the store. So I would love to see us get to 1,000 members before opening and then quickly raise to 1,400, 1,500 once we have the store, which I think once we announce the location, more members will definitely come. Yeah.
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 Okay.
So,
What happens
mhm.
if someone says, I want to be a food co-op member? What does this mean? What do they need to do? What happens next?
Well, it is a $200 investment per household. So anybody who lives with you can be on your membership. Um, and that's a lifetime fee. It's not, we don't charge that every year or anything like that. And that entitles you to a voting share. And we spoke about this briefly. You elect the board of directors. You're eligible to serve on the board of directors, and you will be able to vote on certain actions that the co-op takes. And you also have more of a voice. Like you'll know who's running this business and be able to speak with them and contact them. You can't say that about Ralph's.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're more invested in every sense of the
Yes.
word.
And then once we are open and profitable, owners share in the profits according to how much they shop at the store. So it's like getting some of your money back that you've spent there throughout the year.
Like a rewards program.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Okay.
REI, not like Costco. Costco is a membership fee. You don't get any of the profits, but and it's yearly and it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That works.
All right.
If they go to your website, they can join.
Right. Right. Yeah. What did you ask next?
In
Oh,
COVID,
COVID.
because you told me in COVID,
Yeah.
had to get
Well,
creative.
we've been going along, organizing, tabling at community events, hosting events, trying to get the word out. Not yet looking for a site. Uh, the development timeline that we were following or are following is based on membership numbers. So at X amount of members, you do this. At 500 members, we start thinking about a market study. So we weren't quite there yet. I think we got to 500 and we started looking for a site to do the study on. And then in 2019, we identified a potential site different from the one we're looking at now. And we had a formal market study done on that site. And then COVID hit. And
Yeah.
that site is still not built. It was a new development, brand new development. Um, we had been since 2017 selling organic grains and beans at our local farmers market, which was then at the Crenshaw Mall. And it was a great way to be out in the public. We were there twice a month and we got to meet a lot of people, really grow our listserv, get a lot of new members that way because we were out and about and we could talk to people and we actually had something people could buy from us. So then COVID hit and the farmers market closed down temporarily. And we started doing these pop-ups where people could pre-order their grains and beans from us and pick them up somewhere when they would be, prepaid and they'd be labeled with their name and they could just grab it. Then we got accepted into a program called Seasoned Accelerator, which was offered by CLA, the organization that did all the farmers markets around town. And it was a program where we got to confer with various consultants in the food sphere. And they talked to us about our product line, our business plan, and all these different things. And some of the feedback that we got was to sell different products because you said you don't want people to think you're just going to sell grains and beans at your store.
Yeah.
So we started also partnering with a local organization called Community Services Unlimited. They have been around since the Panthers. They grew out of the Black Panthers breakfast program and they farm locally in the city organically. And they even have a small store that they opened several years ago called the Village Marketplace. It's at 66 in Vermont. And so they do a produce bag subscription program. And so we partnered with them to offer produce at our porch pop-up. So we had produce, we had the grains and beans, and then we also invited a member who was a coffee roaster to provide freshly roasted coffee. And he did it for a while, and then he turned it over to Tony Jolly, who is the owner of Aura Cafe. And so we were selling Tony's coffee, produce, and grains and beans. And then we also added April's Life in a Bottle. So all these things would have to be pre-ordered, and people could come and pick up their order twice a month. April's Life in a Bottle is fresh pressed juices, and she's a local woman who she managed Simply Wholesome for years and years and years. Yeah,
Simply wholesome. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's talk about the fundraising that needs to happen because I think that we we just have to get the word out and people have to
Yeah.
know and people also have to say yes and join the mailing list and all of the things. But I wanted you to kind of talk about what you have determined is kind of your big goal. If there are any, you know, organizations, foundations that you would love to, be in touch with to make this happen. I believe in quantum possibility thinking,
Okay.
Bonnie.
Let me get my list. Uh, we have an outstanding grant proposal with Healthy Food and Financing Initiative. That grant is going to be about $150,000 if we get it. But due to the current administration, things are a little bit hemmed up. And what I've been told is that they do have the money, so that's good, but they haven't dispersed it yet. So we're waiting on that. We also have a grant with Sydney Kamlager Dove's office, our congresswoman. That we haven't heard back from yet, and we asked for pretty much the whole nut to open the store from her office, but I don't know how much we'll get. We did recently do a new market study on the location that we're currently interested in. And from that study, we are in the process of building out the pro forma, which is what shows you basically how much money you need to raise. But I'm thinking it's in the neighborhood of 5 million. So, and we want to raise as much as possible without debt. Because if we have too much debt, the store won't be able to be successful. So that's where we are now, running after free money.
Yes, grants,
Yeah.
foundations, gaining more members,
Mhm.
and making making it something that you can figure out the timeline so that you can start to put more, um, I guess, plans or road marks to know how you are on your roadmap to getting a
Yeah, I
store.
think that once we get to a certain level of funding and we secure the site, one of the first things we may do is hire a project manager. Because currently there are 10 board members and we are a volunteer board, so everybody has a job and some of us have kids and, we have lives. Nobody's got the job of pushing this business forward every day, you know, except for me. I feel like I'm constantly working on SoLA and I wake up thinking about it at 5 o'clock in the morning, like, what's that?
You are the heart and soul of it.
Well,
So I think
it works for me because I'm an actress and so I'm sort of a freelance. I don't always have a job to go to. So I'm the one with the most free time.
that's wonderful. Um, so do you have anything upcoming that you would like to promote? Anyone that you would like to give their flowers? Anything that you would like to
We
share?
don't have any events planned right at this second. We are trying to shore up our marketing materials and get this money. So I know I'm going to a dinner this week. To one of those, fundraiser type dinners.
The galas. This
Yes,
is
I'm
gala
going to a
season.
gala. What is it? Liberty Hill Foundation. So,
Okay.
yeah. And we are back at the farmer's market. We're there on the first and third Saturday of the month. The farmer's market has moved to Slauson and Crenshaw. So it's basically 5730 Crenshaw. And it's Saturdays from 10 to 3.
All right. So we go to farmers market. We'll see you
On the first or third Saturday. Not there every weekend. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to thank you for taking the time today. I asked this of all of the guests, how are you reimagining your place in the community today?
How am I reimagining my place in the community? As opposed to when? Reimagining it since uh
Reimagining it since 2011, right?
I mean, I see myself as a community leader, whether I wanted to be or not. I never would have thought that I would do this. And I remember on your outline, it said, when did you, what's your earliest memory of being in community? And I really had to think about that. I don't really know I was community minded. It it came about as like I don't know, like a time thing, like the seed opened up. It was in there, because when I look back, my parents were involved. They were on the school board. They were on, different boards and stuff. They were involved. And to the extent that we were threatened, our home was threatened because my parents were too visible in the community. And I'm old enough that when the house that I grew up in, my parents had to have a white person pose as the buyer in order to get it. They weren't really allowed to buy in that block, you know. So they were active in civil rights, and they were lifetime members of NAACP, I can't think of the name of the other organization. Anyway, blanking out on that, but different organizations around civil rights. So it was in me like a little seed waiting for the sun to shine on it the right way or the water to come. And when I got here to this community, that's when it started growing.
So, what's the song that instantly brings you back to the feeling of being connected and in community, and why?
Well, that was a baffling question to me. I can never remember songs when somebody asks me to remember a song. My husband said, Love Train. So, yeah, that's a good one.
Yes. Is that something that has, I know sometimes people, you go to a cookout or there's a reunion or there's a something and there's a song that everybody just like, gets excited about. So would you say Love Train is that song for you?
Really? He picked it out as a community song. I feel like the theme song of my childhood is What's Happening, is Marvin Gaye. But I don't know if that's really
No,
community, is it?
yeah, it is. It's about what's community for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's for you? What's for you? Thank you so much. I am going to put all of the links and the emails and the ways to reach you in the show notes. I'm going to find a way for us to do more together, because I would love to see a food co-op in South
Do
Carolina.
you get the SoLA newsletter, Garland letter?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so
All right,
much.
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Alrighty,
Join the co-op.
join the co-op.
We're also accepting donations now. So yeah.
Also accepting donations. Alrighty.
All right. Thank you.
If this conversation moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week we're bringing you more stories of real transformation. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and tag the folks in your circle who need to hear this. Want to go deeper? Check out the Community Impact Collective. Sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description. Now is the time. Are you in?